probably we could also,
Okay,
that would be great because.
so welcome to Prader-Willi California Foundation's behavior. It's a school-related training, especially for school providers, but it's really heavily focused on behavior interventions and behavior management. So can you guys see my handout here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. So oops. Just very briefly, the physiological symptoms that you're going to probably see in your student are going to include decreased strength, balance, coordination, and motor planning, cognitive limitations, and impaired judgment across the board. Most of the time we have cognitive limitations. I don't know what the function is of this child. Hyperphagia is that dysfunctional appetite regulating system that if you have a diagnosis of Prader-Willi syndrome, you do not escape this symptom, but though it varies from person to person. GI issues, temperature regulation dysfunction. This is particularly important for you, school nurse, because this student may have serious illness or infection, and you go to take her temperature and she may register no temperature or no fever whatsoever, but that does not mean she is not seriously ill or have an infection. Likewise, this student may become really overheated way too quickly or faster than you would anticipate. This is important for your OT and certainly your APE teacher, welcome. But because this student has a very high pain threshold, probably, she is not going to recognize being hot or too cold. Therefore, she may not put on a jacket if she is getting too cold or should be, and she's not going to take off a jacket even if she's dripping sweat. So it's going to be really important that adults in her periphery are really monitoring her for her safety, watching for red face, et cetera, and helping her take off jacket, et cetera. Self-injurious behaviors most often include skin picking, speech and language issues, increased frustration and behavior problems, disordered sleep, excessive daytime sleepiness during the day can not only impact paying attention, but can also interfere with modulating behavior. And temperament and behavior issues are the second hallmark symptom of Prader-Willi syndrome, which is why this training is going to be so heavily focused on behavior management interventions. Yeah. Anxiety, as we said earlier before the training officially started, is at the heart of almost every maladaptive behavior in Prader-Willi syndrome, in addition to the hyperphagia symptoms, which we'll see. And it's important to note that lying to get out of trouble or being seen as not correct is part of this syndrome, part of childhood often, but confabulating stories, making up stories, especially false allegations of abuse against parents, providers, teachers, et cetera. This is not uncommon, unfortunately. And again, they're false allegations. You are mandated reporters, so you need to do what you need to do. But if you ever find yourself in this position, you may want to contact PWS USA or PWCF, California Foundation for Assistance and Support. So again, that dysfunctional appetite regulating system, hyperphagia, is a physiological, neurological drive to eat or obtain food that lasts throughout the lifetime. The brain functions as if the body is starving, and it drives the individual incessantly to find food. There is just simply no brakes on satiety, no matter how much food is consumed. The brain also tells the body to store consumed food as fat, and it lowers the metabolic rate to almost half what it should be in order to conserve energy. In addition to this, the central nervous system vomit reflex is absent. So if this student eats poisonous food, rotten food, too much food, her central nervous system is not going to vomit and expel that food. So giving any type of emetic like serpivepicac is not going to induce vomiting and could just serve to be more toxic. If this student is vomiting, this could signal a life-threatening situation, and you should prepare for immediate care at a hospital setting and notify parents immediately. Unmanaged hyperphagia plus that slow metabolic rate can cause rapid weight gain and the potential for premature death from a stomach or bowel rupture or perforation, or from necrosis, or from choking, or potential for behavioral morbid obesity, and certainly behavior problems. This student has always been thin. I think she's still thin, I'm not positive, but she's at greater risk because she's always been thin, because of that hypotonia, the low muscle tone in the stomach lining. She's at greater risk even from death from even a single overeating episode. So it's really critical this student is always supervised whenever there's a potential for her getting food. I want to emphasize that Prader-Willi syndrome is not an eating disorder. An eating disorder is a psychological disorder that's amenable to a whole boatload of interventions. Prader-Willi syndrome is a medical disorder, genetically based, that is not amenable to any medical medication and behavioral modification interventions. The hyperphagia symptom is not amenable to learning to control herself to not take food. She knows she shouldn't take extra food, and she probably doesn't take extra food when she knows she's being supervised. But if there are moments or chronic moments that she believes she's not being supervised, I guarantee you this student is going to be driven by her brain's neurochemistry to try to take food. So current management, state-of-the-art management of hyperphagia throughout the world is 24/7 supervision and adherence to what's called the principles of food security throughout the student's lifetime. No one known to be diagnosed with Prader-Willi syndrome is able to successfully live independently. Those who have tried have either become morbidly obese and had to return to a supported living setting, or they've died. So nobody really should, this is too young of an age to be doing this, but at no time you're going to be noting, Mom, we're not going to be trying to teach this student independent life skills because those could lead to serious consequences. And we're not going to be giving this student access to money as well. So hyperphagia does underlie many maladaptive behaviors, but there are a multitude of other maladaptive behaviors that are caused by neurological imbalances as well. The basis for which is almost always rooted in anxiety, because most people with Prader-Willi syndrome have extremely high levels of anxiety that are kind of lurking just below the surface, ready to react to the next real or even perceived stressor. And anxiety can cause maladaptive behaviors in and of itself. So if you're seeing this student arguing, verbally, becoming verbally or physically aggressive or running away, the first thing I want you to think of is, what is causing this student so much anxiety? Now, repeated questions, excessive talking, and skin picking could also be reflective of anxiety, but it is not necessarily one-to-one correlation. There are other reasons for asking questions constantly, constant talking and skin picking. But if you're seeing them, first thing you're going to think of is what's causing this anxiety. The more we're aware of Prader-Willi syndrome and the physiology of it and the neurology of it and what could be going on underneath this student, the greater success you're going to have to intervene, to pick out which intervention is potentially going to be most successful to avoid an unwanted behavior. The mantra we want you to kind of think about is anything or anyone that causes anxiety has the potential to cause a behavior problem. Anxiety equals behavior problems. That means that each and every one of us could cause a behavior problem where none would have existed had we not said something or not said something, which also means that we have a great deal of potential to reduce behavior problems. And that's really what the focus of this is how do we do that? So our top 10 behavior management strategies include, number one, food security, because at the basis of Prader-Willi syndrome is the hyperphagic food drive. And the principles of food security include no doubt when the next meal or snack is going to be coming, plus no hope or chance that she's going to be able to get extra food. And if she can't get extra food, then she's not going to be disappointed that she can't get it. And that means there's no behavior problems. And that's our goal. So no doubt is pretty easy to achieve on a school setting. It's just consistency in terms of when she gets her meals, how she gets her meals. These are the same every single day. There's really no interruption in that food schedule. You're going to write that food schedule or have it written on her notebook, and you're going to inform her if there are going to be any changes at all to that food plan for the day. Scheduled food has to be as reliable as breathing air. We never use food as a reward, as a bribe, or you take it away for poor behavior. What's most difficult to achieve on a school campus is no hope or chance. No hope or chance means that access to food creates hope, and hope creates anxiety. And remember, anything that creates anxiety has the potential to create unwanted behaviors. And if food is available, this student can do little else but anxiously think of ways of how she's going to get that food. So we reduce or eliminate that anxiety and reduce behavior problems because of as a result by taking food out of this student's access or ability to access throughout her school day. Not having students keep their snack bags on their desks, keep them away in a backpack until it's snack time. Removing candy dishes from the teacher's desk, removing all visible food from the classroom, locking it away. Even if you're putting things on a top shelf, food bags or items on a top shelf, if it's visible, she's going to potentially be thinking, how am I going to stack up a certain number of chairs in order to be able to reach that? How can I do that? So that's not going to reduce her anxiety, even if you think it's inaccessible. If you're going on any field trips, you're going to want to have a plan to manage food. We want you to put a lock on the thought that she cannot get food. And that's the goal. If you know or if you suspect that she's gotten access to food, you're not going to set her up for failure and anxiety by asking her, did you eat those chips? Instead, you're going to presume that she did and state it as a fact. Oh, I see those chips are gone. So you need to take responsibility for her gaining access to food, because remember, this is at the heart of her disability. She cannot stop herself reliably and consistently from taking food that is available. She requires outside support in order to keep her from taking extra food if it's available. So you're going to let her know, I'll make sure that doesn't happen again. So you stay safe, and then you're going to secure that food source so she can't take it again. And then without her knowing, you're going to let her parents know what food was eaten, the quantity of food that was eaten, so that parent can reduce the calories for the rest of the day to compensate for the additional calories she ate. Remember, I said that the brain slows the metabolic rate to almost half the normal rate. People with Prader-Willi syndrome will gain weight on more than 2 healthy fruits a day. So you can imagine how much how much weight can be gained if she's eating an extra bag of chips here, or a few Cheetos over here, or trading other students for a ding dong here and there. Higher cognitive abilities don't mean she can override her ability to get food. Likewise, limited intellectual functioning has no bearing. People with very low IQ can have think of brilliant ways to get food, very complicated arrangements to get food, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be able to express those abilities in other areas of life. It's like a savant skill. Even the most honest person with PWS may lie, cheat, or steal when it comes to food. This is simply a symptom of the syndrome. Behavior problems are often reduced when there is an unsecured food source somewhere that's now restricted and secure. And generally we see behavior problems reduce in every area. Don't remove food from her hands, or any item actually, unless it's dangerous. And then you're going to do whatever you have to do, because removing anything from her hands is almost always going to induce a very big behavior outburst. We're going to pass over routines, but do read it in your handout and in your basic environmental basics. Consistency and routine, we know will reduce anxiety, and this is particularly important when it comes to people. So we've got to get that teacher and aide support really nailed down so that she has reduced or no anxiety in relation to the people in her life. Rules also pretty commonly well managed in a school setting. So we're going to pass over this. Again, please take a look at it though in your handouts. Boundaries are critically important to people with Prader-Willi syndrome as an environmental basic. They help her feel safe. So again, we're going to pass over most of this because you probably are doing most of this anyway, but don't threaten to remove a privilege. You know what, honey, if you don't hurry up, you're going to miss library, if library is a really big thing for her, because this will not encourage her to hurry up. Actually, it will induce a behavior problem in and of itself because you're removing a privilege. And that is a big no-no with people with Prader-Willi syndrome. Our biggest thing is to praise for the desired behavior. Removing privileges may be very helpful with other students. It's going to backfire on you with your student with Prader-Willi syndrome. Don't allow yourself to be manipulated. If you believe you've been manipulated, fix it. If you've got issues with this, let us know, we'll help you. Calm responses we're also going to pass over because you already know you're not going to be critically raising your voice, pardon me, or sounding angry with this student because that will increase her anxiety. Just manage yourselves properly. And if you are seeing tantrum behaviors, unwanted behaviors, respond to them with indifference, boredom even, so that we extinguish them as quickly as possible. This cartoon is kind of the sitcom, the skit is you're not going to give her eye contact in the middle of a meltdown or a behavior problem, but you are going to keep her in your peripheral vision so that you keep her safe. Never give into a tantrum, because if you give into a tantrum, even if it's over a stupid little eraser today, you have breached the boundaries. She knows she can manipulate you, and all she's going to do next is yell louder, be more aggressive, wait you out longer, and eventually you'll give in. So don't do that. Our next intervention is empathy. This is if our environmental basics are our bottom scaffold, empathy is our interactional scaffold. So empathy is the ability to see another person's perspective and understand and share the feelings of another person, right? But most people with Prader-Willi syndrome do not possess this ability to see things from anybody else's perspective other than their own. So we have to see things from her perspective in order to manage the interactions we have for her more appropriately and more effectively. Empathy is a very powerful and critical intervention. This cartoon kind of illustrates that you're going to get into power struggles with this student because she sees a 9, no, it's a 6, no, it's a 9, no, it's a 6. Not until you understand from her perspective, she sees a 9. Ah, I get it. Now I need to teach this in a different way or come at it in a different way. Empathy is successful because it gets to the core of anxiety, disappointment, or frustration. It gets you out of the power struggle. And people with Prader-Willi syndrome are big time power struggle because they're constantly looking for the power, right, to be in control because of that anxiety base. But if you are using empathy effectively, you're out of the power struggle now, and you're both working to fix the problem together. At its basic form, the empathetic response can simply be repeating the exact words that she's saying. Other words that can convey your empathy include things like, I get it. You think X. I understand. You think X. You think X. You think the library is open. You think the library is open, even if it's not, right? But you think the library is open. What a bummer. You think the library is open and I'm pretty sure it's closed. Isn't that disappointing that it's closed today? It's not fair. That's not fair, is it? These are terms that you do not have to be afraid of using. As a matter of fact, don't be afraid to use these terms, as we'll see in a second. It's not going to make things worse for you to really reflect back to her the horribleness of her upset. Empathy is not disagreeing, agreeing, or giving in. It is simply communicating that you do understand her upset, her perspective, her want, or her need. And when she feels you totally get it, she doesn't have to turn the volume up of her upset anymore. In other words, she doesn't have to get louder, more aggressive, or less escalated. So again, I can't emphasize this enough. Get into, repeat, and ad nauseum what you hear her upsetness is about. I get it. Do not go into problem solving mode. Do not go into problem solving mode. Stay with empathy about how horrible this is until you see her behavior kind of calming a little bit. Only then do you go into kind of sharing your concern and helping her work through what problem solving options there could be. And then you're going to be giving her not the problem solve, right? Why don't we do this? Nope. But instead, well, do you think we could do this or this using preferred options? We'll see in a moment. Do not try to talk her out of her upset. Just don't do it. So if, you know what, honey, I'm so sorry the library is open today, but it's open tomorrow, so we'll go tomorrow. If that is not immediately met with, okay, thank you very much, I look forward to tomorrow, then immediately go into empathy. Wow, what a bummer the library's closed. You were really looking forward to that.
Okay.
Don't use logic and reasoning with this student. Remember, we can't go into library because they're under construction today, and that'll be really, unsafe. If that doesn't, again, meet with, oh, okay, thank you very much for letting me know, then immediately go to empathy. Isn't that just a major disappointment that we can't go to the library today? Isn't that just awful? Because they're under construction. That's just terrible. Don't engage in a power struggle. Learn to disengage. Disagreements can often be really reduced and stopped if you say, you know what, honey, I'm going to say one more thing about this. Then you say one more thing about this, and then let her have the last word. Don't say another word. Okay? And then let's talk about something else. You cannot win in an argument with somebody with Prader-Willi syndrome because you're constrained by logic and reasoning, and she probably isn't. So you can lay out all the logical and reasonable reasons why your argument is correct or what needs to happen your way is correct, but that's not going to be helpful to her. I'm just going to power struggle with you and escalate more. So just use empathy. And then distraction after empathy can be helpful as well. Paint the picture. Knowing what to expect reduces anxiety, and anything that reduces anxiety reduces the potential for unwanted behavior. So paint the picture of what things are going to look like before you enter them. If there's anything new that's going to happen, paint the picture of what it's going to look like. If there's an assembly that's going to happen today, let her know that. And in detail by detail by detail, right? Aide can generally do this better than teacher. Then let her know what she can expect. You could also let her know what happens if it's really hard for her. We'll go into another room, or we'll go to the nurse's station or something similar, so that you can calm your body. Paint the picture about everything. There's no detail too great, especially if there's going to be any changes in the routine. Work with mom to find out what her sweet spot is, so you're not raising her anxiety with too much advance notice or too little advance notice. Anticipate that what you do this time is expected to happen next time. And she's either going to be really disappointed if it doesn't happen next time, if she wanted it to, unless or until you fix it first, which brings us to our next intervention: fix a past goof. Again, anything that occurred in the past is expected to occur in the future. So if it shouldn't have occurred in the past, you need to fix the past goof and let her know it's not going to occur in the future. Or if it should have occurred in the past and it didn't, let her know it will occur next, even though it didn't next time. So paint the new picture of what she can expect in the future. So our guidelines for this are very simple: 4 steps. Bring up the issue that needs fixing. Hey, remember last time we went to the library and y'all got a lollipop? Incorporate empathy. That was pretty good, wasn't it? That was a delicious lollipop. Preface the fix by letting her know the benefit to her, right? We always want to do what's best for you though, right? And then give the fix. So this time, when we leave the library, you're not going to get a lollipop. Actually, nobody's going to get a lollipop. And that's better for everybody. Preferred choice win-win is probably the last intervention we're going to have time to do, but it is a biggie and a good one. So at least we've gotten through this one. Preferred choices are critical to use with this student because Prader-Willi syndrome causes oppositionalism. The brain's automatic reaction is typically to respond with oppositional, defiant, and argumentative behavior. So we manage this by not asking her yes/no questions. We instead offer win-win preferred choices to reduce oppositionalism and improve her cooperation. Make everything her choice within your preferred win-win options, boundaries, because we want her to experience control, but we don't want her to have actually too much actual control. Okay, so those preferred choices look like, things like, do you want to put your backpack under your chair or on the hook? Do you want to work on this project for 5 minutes or 7 minutes more? Do you want to watch me set the timer, or do you want to set the timer? Everything can be the person's choice. Everything. I dare you to stump me with something that can't be her choice. That's my, and I'll give a box of C's candy to anybody who can stump me. Do avoid open-ended questions, because these can be really difficult to process and create anxiety. So what do you want to do next? Open-ended questions, right? What do you want to do next? Do you want to work on your math homework or your English homework? Boom. Avoid ambiguity, because it creates anxiety for most people. Don't hurry with your words, because this can kick in oppositionalism. You want me to hurry? Watch how slowly I can go. But use music, competition. Hey, I bet you can't beat me to the playground first, or back to the classroom first, to help motivate her and hurry her. And do allow lots of time for her to process things. Most students have a very slow processing skill set, and then process past. In addition to that, it takes a little bit of time to process past the brain's oppositionalism. So build in extra time wherever you go. We're going to stop the share here. And I haven't been looking at all on any chat questions. I'm going to open it up, though, for any questions in any time we might have remaining.
Is your mom coming? Okay, when your mom comes, you put it in the trash.
Nellie, can you mute yourself, please?
You can put it in. What's that?
Can you mute yourself if you were chatting with somebody else?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking
Thanks.
with
Lisa, I was just wondering if you're able to share the slides with us in general. My Wi-Fi was, I'd love to look at them in more detail later.
Yeah, they are in a handout to
Okay.
you. If I can't remember who I emailed them to. I think I emailed it all to Jenny. So if you reach out to Jenny, she can email you the whole PowerPoint presentation and all the handouts, right? Because they're all critical. Or
Thank
if
you
you
so
want to
much
email me
for-
directly at lisag@pwcf.org, I will email them to you directly. Absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much. This was, in a short amount of time, you covered so much, and I appreciate all the information you shared, because now I feel like I have a good picture of how to interact.
You
with
only
the-
have half the picture, Juanita. You only
My
have
goodness.
half. There are.
My goodness.
there-
If there's any opportunity for you to include, obviously you said in your PowerPoint you have more, so by reviewing the PowerPoint, we'll be able to get a better picture.
You will, but it's one thing to read and one thing to hear a presentation. And the nuance of how things are presented and how people read things that may not be how they're intended. So if just encourage you, if you have time to schedule another, even if half an hour, 40-minute presentation, we can get you the latter part of it, because there's more that will be helpful, and I would want you to have it.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you guys very much on behalf of family too. Thank you.
So much. Thank you, Lisa.
Mhm.
You're so awesome.
Oh, thank you. Jenny, I'll email you the YouTube link. Okay,
Okay.
then you can share it along with the handout. Again, if you hadn't shared it with everybody, okay?
Thank you so much for
Thank
organizing.
you.
Thank you for
You're
the
welcome.
information. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, all right, I'm gonna stop the recording and get you that YouTube link as soon as I upload it and do what I need to do.
Thank you, Lisa. Have a
You're
really
welcome,
great
Jenny.
day.
Good luck.
Yes, thank you.